Well, folks, the colder weather is coming. It's November. With colder weather comes cuffing season or cuddling season, what have you. That means with the colder weather, people are wanting to get closer both emotionally and physically. Personal, physical intimacy. That's a natural thing, right? When it gets colder, human beings want to be close to someone. They want to feel warm and toasty and tidy like a marshmallow roasting over an open fire. Yes, it's that time of the year. That's a universal thing, right? The country doesn't matter. However, have you ever wondered how people in Japan find their partners? Well, first of all, we have to realize there's different types of partners for different types of purposes. First and foremost is the most obvious and the most common, I guess, romantic partners. In Japanese, koibito, it literally means love person. There's also friends with benefits, in Japanese known as sefure. And don't worry, I didn't forget all the sugar mamas and sugar daddies, in Japanese known as mamakatsu and papakatsu, respectively. And there's one more that's a little bit strange. I guess in English we'd call it somewhat of a cuddle buddy. In Japanese, they're known as soifure. Soi means sleep, fure is short for friend. It's literally a person who sleeps with you, and that's all they do is sleep with you. There's no hanky-panky going on under the sheets, trust me. They just sleep with you. It's a real thing. I don't know much about it, but I've seen it before. Not in person, just online. Also, there's one more thing. Technically, they're not a partner, not in the real sense of a word, but there's something called rental boyfriends and rental girlfriends in Japan, and it's exactly what the name implies. You pay someone a certain amount of money, and they will be your girlfriend or your boyfriend for a day. I've never tried it, but it's a real thing here. Interesting country, this place. Anyway, there's a plethora of ways to meet any of these partners here in Japan, and today we're going to take a look at a couple of them. So, first off, let's go over the most common and obvious one. Dating apps. Now, up until about recently, the Japanese have seen dating apps with a sort of skepticism and fear. After all, Japanese people overall are pretty private and kind of closed off compared to foreigners. And asking a Japanese person to put more or less private information along with a picture online is a tall order, especially when lots of girls, and maybe boys too, don't want their friends or their company or their co-workers finding out that they're looking for a partner. However, with the advent of the pandemic, meeting a partner has become even more difficult for Japanese people. So more and more people, especially younger folks, are turning towards dating apps. Now, from what I've found, at least on the women's side, most of the users tend to be in their 20s or 30s or older women who are either unmarried or widowed. Women in their, I'd say mid-30s and up generally have a harder time finding a partner in Japan. So turning towards dating apps is a nice alternative. So what kind of dating apps are popular here in Japan? Well, apps like Bumble and Tinder have already long hit Japanese shores. There's also a slew of Japanese apps as well. Now, I've found that these apps tend to be for more serious users, especially considering that the guy has to pay to use the apps. The most popular ones I would say are Pairs, Omiai, and Tapple. Now, as a guy who has scrolled through these profiles for a long time, I have to say that you can kind of pick out different types of women on these websites. Number 1, long hair, don't care. This one is a pic of a woman who only shows the back of her freshly did do from the hair salon, and literally nothing else. No face, nothing. Number 2, welcome to Disneyland. A picture of some rando Disney character seen from a cartoon or from a movie. The girl may or may not be in the picture, and if she is, she may or may not be showing her face. Number 3, food corn. Just a random picture of food. Not much else, not even the girl, just food. Number 4, woman's best friend. And no, not diamonds. These are pictures of a girl's pet, most often a toy poodle with really curly hair because they seem to be really popular with Japanese girls. You may or may not see the girl in the picture. Number 5, filters are fun. Oh yeah, we've all seen this one. The famous dog filter with the sparkly face? Yeah, that one. Number 6, Kuchisake Onna. So basically, these are girls with masks who don't really take off the mask to show their face. Now, if you don't know who Kuchisake Onna is, she's a Japanese urban legend. It's about a woman with a terrible Glasgow smile. So she usually wears a mask, but if you run into her, she lifts up her mask and she asks, Am I pretty? Now, the answer to her question is always yes, or else. And then finally, number 7. I'm a real girl after all, just a normal picture of the actual girl. Fortunately, these have increased a lot more, but back in the day, they were few and far between. So let's talk about these dating apps. First of all, Tinder. Tinder is, well, it's Tinder. I don't think it really matters about the country, so we won't even go over that. Let's maybe take a look at some other ones. So let's talk about Bumble. Many of the users on Bumble are actually open to dating foreigners, not just Japanese people. And actually, many of them speak decent or even fluent English. As for Pairs is free for women, but guys, sorry, you have to pay. Sorry fellas, it's the same principle as the club. Women get in free, guys have to pay. Now, as for Omiyai and Tapple, the other two really common and popular dating apps in Japan, I don't know if women have to pay for them. If you guys know, leave a comment in the comment section. So now let's talk about some other types of apps. We'll call them Daiki. Now, Daiki apps are different from matching apps in Japan. So your typical dating app is called a matching apuri in Japanese. However, Daiki, or encounter apps, I'm not really sure the best way to phrase this in English. These are more so for people who are looking for something more short term, if you get my gist. I'm talking about like one night short term. Or even your mamakatsu or your papakatsu, your sugar mamas and your sugar daddies. So some popular Daiki apps include Happy Mail, Waku Waku, and PC Mail. The problem with many of these apps is that they are very catfishy. I mean, very catfishy. I reckon that some of the profiles are not even real, like the girl isn't even there, or she's some random Chinese girl in a village somewhere trying to make a quick buck. Anyway, catfish or fake profiles in Japanese are called sakura, or cherry blossoms. Why? I don't particularly know. Now, the good thing with these apps is membership is free for both men and women, but there's a catch. To talk or continue to talk to these women, you often have to spend points, and the only way to buy more points is to spend money. Of course, these are businesses, so they're not going to have everything for free. That's understandable, but just something to be aware of. Now, I did say that these apps are more so for like temporary encounters, if you get my gist, but I wouldn't really call them friends with benefits. The thing is, a friend with benefits is no strings attached. You meet with someone and you have fun. But these apps, well, the best way to explain it is it's more or less common to paying for the service. And you know what the service is, right? So these apps are not quite friends with benefits, even though it's possible to meet someone on there, from what I've heard. But more often than not, you'll be meeting with someone, fork over the money, and then you have the playtime. So in other words, you gotta pay if you wanna play. Now, it's my personal theory that many of the girls on here who offer these services, they're not particularly professionals. They're not part of some organization, right? Now, sometimes they might be college students and they just need a little extra money. Now, usually the woman will pretty much lead the conversation and she'll tell the guy where she wants to meet. Usually, if not at a love hotel, at least close enough to one. And then from there, she'll give you the price, which is more often than not at least a little bit negotiable. The prices tend to range from around 10,000 yen to about maybe 25,000 yen, depending on the girl. Now, typically, if the girl is offering some type of paid service, the messaging pattern is always the same. Price, location, whether or not she's bringing protection, which more often than not she does, and if the man needs to pay for the hotel or not, which more often than not he does. It's very, very straightforward. As for mamakatsu and papakatsu, I don't really know how it works. As for actual friends with benefits, I'm sure there are some, but I think they're few and far between, and there's also some differences between the apps. I think some of them might have more sakura and more catfish than others. Waku Waku seems to be pretty legit. Now, there is one more category of apps, but they're not really meant for dating. Language exchange apps. Actually, one of my coworkers a long time ago, before apps were even a thing, he met this Japanese girl on a language exchange website, and they're currently married now. Now, here in Japan, even these days, with these language exchange apps, and some popular ones tend to be Hello Talk and also Tandem. Now, the explicit purpose of these apps is exactly what they are, language exchange websites. But some people actually deliberately use these apps to meet their partners. Now, sometimes it's a Japanese person looking to meet a handsome or beautiful foreigner, or it's a foreigner looking to meet a handsome or a beautiful Japanese person. The apps themselves, though, have very, very strict guidelines on the intended purpose of the app. And if the person is not careful, if they run into someone who is not looking for the same thing, they can get in trouble and they can get banned real quickly. Now, for Japanese people who are interested in foreigners and vice versa, there is another way, meetup.com. You'll find a plethora of international exchanges and events where both Japanese people and foreigners can get together, mingle, and have fun and meet new people. Now, Japanese people tend to be pretty indirect and shy about their feelings. A lot of Japanese girls and maybe guys will say, I want to learn English. I want an English-speaking friend. But what they really mean is, I want to date a foreigner. Now, not everyone is like that. Some people are looking for exactly what they state, which is an English partner or a language exchange partner or just a friend from a different country. However, do be aware that sometimes I want to learn English is just a very indirect way of saying I want to meet up with a foreigner and I want a foreign boyfriend or a foreign girlfriend. It's really interesting. Now, I do have to warn you that some people do only use foreigners to learn English. Now, there's a pattern that happens sometimes where a Japanese girl, or perhaps even a Japanese guy, they might show interest in a foreigner as a friend or even as a partner just because they want to practice English. They might lead that foreigner on just because they want someone to practice English with for free. And sometimes a Japanese girl or guy might get a foreign boyfriend or a foreign girlfriend just because it's cool. They want to show off. They want to show off that they have a foreign partner. But it doesn't mean that they actually care about that person. So I'm talking about something called gaijin hunters. Gaijin hunters usually look for foreign partners or foreign boyfriend or foreign girlfriend, not because they actually like the person, but because they are a foreigner. So it's kind of similar to how yellow fever works in the West. As long as they're Asian, anyone's okay. For the Japanese gaijin hunter, as long as they're foreign, anyone is okay. So if you know that going in and you don't care, fine. But if you're looking for an actual relationship, don't deal with the gaijin hunters. Listen to your boy. There's lots more ways to go over how Japanese people meet their partners, but this video is getting long. So let's make this part 1. I'll be uploading part 2 later on, talking about more ways that Japanese people meet their partners, ways that you can possibly meet Japanese partners as well. It's a lot to unpack and a lot to uncover. So tune in next time. 今日も見てくれてありがとうございます and thank you very ございます。